Howdy folks, Luke Simons with you, back to the Basics 101. I have just a few thoughts today, and basically it is, be careful what you're watching. Be careful what you're watching. If you are a Christian, you probably grew up around Odyssey, and Odyssey was a focus on the family, wonderful radio drama. Went on and on and on. I grew up, I could probably quote you every Odyssey I've ever listened to, because I probably listened to them 100 times, and then I listened to them another 140 times, probably with my kids listening to them, and I love Odyssey. But Odyssey had, if you remember, Novacom. And Novacom was a little something, okay, that was in like a TV basically, and it was brainwaves, and everybody in the city of Odyssey had a Novacom box, and these Novacom box were woohoo into your brain, and everybody had to have the same things. One time it was, if my memory serves me correctly, one time it was birdhouses, another time it was Greasley chips, gotta have my Greasley chips, and they were all quoting the sign, or the quote for the commercial, but it was brain waves. And what Odyssey was simply trying to say is your social media wasn't really a big deal back then, but your internet, your of course nowadays your social media, television, all of that is a major issue. Now, I am a barber by trade, so I get to talk to a lot of great people, and I love doing what I do. I absolutely love it. It's like being a doctor, and you don't have to have a degree, and it's a great living. But anyways, saying that, I have had customers in North Dakota coming to me and saying, yeah, my wife is making sourdough bread. And hey, I'm glad they're making bread. That's a good thing. I'm glad you're making bread. My wife always made bread. She's great at it. I love sourdough bread. Keep making sourdough bread. But what's funny is the men are coming in loving the sourdough bread, but they're all saying, yeah, for some reason my wife just went into this craze of making sourdough bread. Oh yeah, it's real. It's everywhere. My cousin, his wife is making sourdough bread. His mother's making sourdough bread. Everyone's making sourdough bread. Well, why do you suppose the craze happened? And there's nothing wrong with this craze. Well, it's simply because social media. Everyone's got a loaf of social media, a loaf of social media on their counter, and they're talking about how their family loves this sourdough bread, and all the women are going, boy, by golly, I better make me some sourdough bread. One guy today, great guy, said, yeah, my wife, she doesn't cook, never has cooked, but she's making sourdough bread now, and man, is she making sourdough bread. I mean, all of my customers, their wives are making, not all, that's an exaggeration, but a lot of them are all making sourdough bread. Okay, so enough sourdough bread. Another thing that's happening in the barbershop, the phenomenon. I'm telling you. We got to do something about these airplanes. They're all falling out of the sky. My goodness, the airplanes are falling out of the sky. Everything is falling. I'm thinking to myself, I'm pretty sure not all the airplanes are falling out of the sky. In fact, this barber rancher guy is gonna say that I bet this year, 2025, the same amount of airplanes that fell out of the sky in 2024 and 2023 and 2022 and 2021, it's going to be the same amount. It's going to be the same amount, folks. And the reason I say that is because I have evidence of this. The media is talking about it. The bobbleheads are all, by golly, this is hot news. Instead of telling us the great things that are happening in this country, and there's a lot of great people out there. They're doing great things. We've got to talk about the chances. You have a better chance of an asteroid coming through your house, I think, I just made this up on the fly, than having an airplane fall out of the sky with you in it or your relatives in it. This is ridiculous. I don't know why my fan is making that weird noise. Ha! As I said it, it started making it. Now think about this, folks. Today it's planes, okay? There's always a little narrative playing in our ears. A few years ago, we had a flu-like symptom that came in and started killing everybody. Now, this is a funny story. They told us on national news that North Dakota, my North Dakota that I live in, was the worst place ever with this flu, this pandemic, the worst pandemic that ever happened. My nephew, who is uncommonly smart, and I'm not just saying that, he is uncommonly smart. I think he was 18 years old. He went like this. He went, if this is the worst place for COVID, and they said third world countries even were worse than third world countries, he said, I guess COVID's not very bad. Oops, I said it. Now I'll probably get this video knocked down. Yeah, that's what he said. But people were believing it. And guess what, folks? Numbers in North Dakota were up like, 40 people? Which is sad, but it was up 40 people. I think it was. Don't quote me on that. The year of the pandemic, boom, we're up 40 people, not 40%, 40 people. Newsflash, people die from the common flu all the time. And another newsflash is that year, I was a state legislator, so I had the data in front of me at the time. We didn't have any cases of anybody dying from the common flu, which, guess what? We had 40 more people die with the C word. Is anybody listening to the narrative here? We are being lied to on a mass scale. It's not about sourdough, even though that's just advertising. It's great advertising. You know, there's always advertisements going around. You know, you got to have this, you got to have that. Now the new thing is for people making about $250,000, $300,000 a year, I got to have a Jeep Wagoneer. Everybody's got a Jeep Wagoneer. Mine is not a Jeep Wagoneer. It's a Suburban. So now I got to buy its Jeep Wagoneer for $100,000. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like really good advertising. One of their so-called cool people got a Jeep Wagoneer, and now you got to have a Jeep Wagoneer because you just ain't cool if you don't have one. And by golly, if you have one of them GMC Yukons, which has been one of the best vehicles, and the Suburban has been one of the greatest vehicles of all time, you got one of them junkers, boy, by golly, you got to have to do something. I'm sitting there going, you understand what you're listening to? And we're all doing it. All of us are doing it. I do it with pickups all the time. I'm like, man, I love this old pickup. But then I'm like, well, the best pickup probably ever made, I'm guessing, is probably a 2001 to 2006 Chevrolet gas engine pickup. They are some of the best pickups. They're better than any Toyota that probably ever came on the face of the earth. They are just wonderful. I'm thinking, gotta have one, but I'm just gonna buy a really nice one, and I might. But the truth is the pickup I have was one running just great. So why am I always wanting more? And why, of course, that's a little different. That's advertising. But the same thing is, what are we talking about in the news? We have a president. This president, I'm a constitutionalist. So the last person I got excited about was Ron Paul. That's the last person I got excited about. Everybody else is just basically bringing on some kind of communism, socialist. That's how I look at it. I like Donald Trump a lot. I really like Donald. I got Donald Trump hats. I got Donald Trump shirts. I got Donald Trump coffee cups. I've got Donald Trump rug. I like Donald Trump, okay? But he's not a constitutionalist. I know that. And I agree with him about 95% probably. So then people talk bad about President Donald Trump. And I'm sitting there going, The reason you're talking bad about Donald Trump is because you're believing the news. For example, people go, I really like Donald Trump, but I just really wish he wouldn't talk so much. What do you mean? Well, he runs his mouth on Twitter all the time. Oh, what do you mean? What did he say? Well, I can't think of anything right now. Well, what are you talking about then? Are you repeating what the bobbleheads are saying? What the fake news is saying? Because it sounds an awful lot like you're parroting what they're telling you to say. You got it? You get it? Whatever happened to free thinking? They report and we decide. We do research. This AI stuff is starting to scare me too, because that's making up stuff. I mean, that's scary stuff. But I'll tell you what, if you're reading online books, I would suggest real good. Really, boy, that is so loud. I would suggest to you that you buy some real books, because the way things are going, we're going to end up having some book burning in this country. And the way things are going, AI is going to tell you what history was, or what it wants you to say, or what it wants it to say. That's how this is going to work, folks. That's where we're heading. That's where we're going. This is something to think about. Us humans, we're not much different. The old quote is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, that's not really true. I can make a horse drink water. All you have to do is just add some salt to his oats, and I can lead him to water, and he'll drink real fast. He really will. I can make a horse drink water. There's no doubt about that. Something to think about. What we think about is kind of the way we go. As a man thinketh, so is he. Be careful what you're allowing yourself to hear, to be around. It's almost like we're being brainwashed. What's it called when you watch the watch? What's that called again? Hypnotized. Definitely. It's a type of hypnotism. There's an old quote, and I'll end with this. If you know me well enough, you're thinking, yeah, right, you're going to end this. One more story. There's an old quote. Be careful what you say to yourself when no one else is around, because you're always listening, and you're the easiest to fool. Be careful what you're listening to. Be careful what you hear, what you see, because you're listening, you're watching, and if you watch the wrong thing, you're not educated, you're parroting. I love you all, folks. May the Lord God keep you. This is Luke Simons. Happy trails.